Chapter 29, December 1988, Shanghai. When John arrived at the Red House bar, Zoe was already waiting at a table by the window. The restaurant's location, away from the busy city center, made their frequent meetings less likely to be noticed, and it was open all night. "I thought you'd never get here." She gave him a reproachful look that dissolved into an eager smile as she reached for his hand. "Oh, John, I missed you so." "I missed you too." He bent to kiss her. "Sorry I'm late." "That's all right. I'm just crazy impatient when it comes to you. Do you want a drink first?" "No." He slid across the booth and pulled her close. "I just want you." His lips found hers and then trailed down her neck as his desire rose. He wanted her more and more every time he saw her. "Oh, God, you're still so marvelously sexy." She smiled. "And you're still so romantic." "Only because of you." He laughed and then turned to the bar owner, who stood next to him, grinning. Because the owner was so friendly, and because the man was also friends with the local police station master, which made the bar a safe haven for them, John always ordered their most expensive drink, a gin and tonic, rather than his preferred whiskey on the rocks. "Darling, you look tired. Busy day?" She stroked his face with her fingertips. "Yes, my brain is drained," he said. "I'm writing a report on how to further develop scientific cooperation between the US and China." Zoe nodded, looking at him full of admiration. "I'm amazed at how versatile you are. First nuclear research, and now diplomatic affairs. I'm fascinated to know what makes your every move so successful." "I wouldn't say every move was successful. Mostly it's all circumstantial," John said quietly. "And it's all to do with you." "Me? How?" John smiled, marveling at how fate had brought them back together from such divergent paths. He felt sure she would understand his commitment to worldwide nuclear non-proliferation. "I couldn't bear life without you at Berkeley, so I left. Eventually, I married Marion, my best friend's sister. For a while, I worked at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, studying the Japanese afflicted by nuclear fallout. Then I came to realize I hated the idea of using nuclear power for destruction. Around that same time, I saw a photo in the Los Angeles Times. You were in it, along with a bunch of other scientists, shaking hands with Chairman Mao after China's first hydrogen bomb test. I thought you had changed, that you approved of nuclear weapons. I thought you had chosen them over me." He paused and gripped her hand with both of his. "Now, I know you didn't have any other option." Zoe nodded. "At least you had a nice family, a lovely wife, and beautiful children." Marion was a primary school teacher. She loved kids and dreamt of having lots of babies. He closed his eyes, remembering Marion's pain. Unfortunately, she had a miscarriage, and after that, she couldn't get pregnant again. John smiled bitterly. "I left Livermore and took a job auditing and implementing nuclear safeguard programs for the US Atomic Energy Commission. I thought that way I could use my knowledge for good, the way you did when you came back to Shanghai. But things went terribly wrong. I was sent to work on an extended project with Pakistan's National Science Institute. When my wife's brother came to visit us in Islamabad, the two of them went out on a hike and were killed in a car accident on the way home." He took a long, deep breath and swallowed a mouthful of gin. Since that dreadful day, he had largely blocked out the memories, trying never even to think about his time in Pakistan. Even now, it felt as if he were telling someone else's story. As far as he could tell, the whole episode in his life was a failure, both for himself and for US foreign policy. It was easier to leave out the depressing details. Swiping his hand across his eyes, he said, "I should never have taken Marion there. What I did to her was unforgivable." "Poor darling, you put too much blame on yourself. It was an accident. How could that be your fault?" Zoe leaned over and kissed his cheek. "So that's another thing we have in common. Both of us were involved with Pakistan's nuclear program. I've been working on the Cheshma nuclear power plant for 3 years now, but it was your workshop that helped me feel confident about the design." John nodded slowly, trying to process this revelation. His understanding was that the delegation was only concerned about safety at China's own nuclear plant. This was the first time Zoe had mentioned her involvement in the Cheshma nuclear power plant. "Wow, the trip was certainly worth your while then. You have completed the Pakistan project?" "Not yet. We are still busy with our own project. Plus, Pakistan is not so efficient. Maybe they've run out of money." "Ah, maybe they've spent it all on nuclear weapons," he said casually, trying to find out how much he knew or was involved in Pakistan's nuclear weapons program. Zoe shrugged. "Who knows? Judging from their current speed, they won't have nuclear power generated until at least the late 1990s. She seemed to have very limited knowledge about it all. He shoved that thought aside. Now was not the time to discuss Pakistan's nuclear ambitions, nor was it his priority. He continued, "When I came back from Pakistan, I fell in with IAEA. That was a lucky move, because it brought you back to me. And now, working as a foreign diplomat has allowed me to come here and be with you. Thank God I found you again." He lifted her hand to his cheek and whispered, "I never want to lose you again." "Darling, you will never lose me, because I love you." His fingers tightened around hers. "Then marry me." Zoe caught her breath. Since he'd come to China, the two of them had never been alone, only meeting, however discreetly, in public. But every time they met, she felt their connection grow deeper and stronger. She snuggled against his chest, resting her head on his shoulder. She could not afford to lose him again either. "I will," she said slowly. "I will, but I need some time. I haven't told my daughter about you, and I don't know what she'll think if I get married now, at my age, and to a foreigner. I want to make sure her career won't suffer because of me either. With her drive and ambition, I think she can do a lot of good for nuclear safety. Just don't take too long, please." He dipped his head to whisper in her ear, "I can't wait to make love to you." "Be patient, dearest. We've waited almost 40 years. Few more weeks won't make any difference." She kissed him, long and deep. For a while, they sat in silence, immersed in the joy of being together, holding on to each other. Then John picked up the conversation, keeping his tone casual. "I was so disappointed when I went to Lawrence Livermore to find you, but you had already left. Afterwards, I had a pleasant chat with Dr. Lin. He told me he enjoyed hosting your delegation and hopes to come visit your institute to see the progress you've made and see everyone again." Dr. Lin is a very nice man. A little strange, I thought, but knowledgeable and very friendly. We'd love to repay his hospitality. He could have the full China tour, too. The delegation members were from several different cities. Only General Engineer Ouyang and I were from Institute 1970. Ah, I didn't know that. So where are the rest of the members from? Do they all work in nuclear energy? No, not all of them. Sue's from Number 7 Machinery Bureau. Lua from the China Atomic Energy Agency. Anguo from the Northern Military Corporation. From the CIA briefing, John knew that Dr. Lin and Anguo had spent some time together in the hotel bar, and Dr. Lin had been spotted going into Anguo's room several times. He prodded. That's right, Anguo. Dr. Lin mentioned him particularly, asking me to pass on his regards if I see him. Do you have his contact information? Zoe shook her head. He was quiet, didn't say much. I don't really know him that well. Can you find out for me? John said. He knew in his gut that Zoe shouldn't have to unwittingly play a part in the spy game being played out behind the scenes of the delegation. But as much as he wanted to keep her safely out of the intrigue, he had to find out what she knew. Aware that he couldn't be too obvious in his probing, though, he quickly added, I really enjoyed running the workshop, and everyone was so nice. I'd love to meet them again. The workshop was a great success. We all learned so much. I'm much more confident now that we know our Qinshan project is safe. Zoe laid her cheek on his shoulder and sighed with happiness. Thank you, my love, for everything.